Hi there, troops. I'm Eyesore Bear, and welcome to Trench Attack. Troops, Eyesore Bear here. Welcome to Update 61 for Foxhole. This one is being dubbed the Builders Update. So grab your hammers and let's get building. And stay tuned at the very end for a little special note and a little special behind the scenes about the editing and recording of this update. We'll start off with some smaller things and then work our way up to the larger structures. The Navy lads are finally getting their shiny new uniforms in the form of the Colonial Remix Garb and the Warden's Gentleman's Peacoat. These uniforms specialize for naval tasks, so you'll be able to carry extra buckets of water without much more encumbrance, and you'll have the ability to walk through water a little bit faster. This will come especially in handy in those flooded compartments. Before we get to building trenches and bunkers, let's introduce a new piece of equipment. It's like a vehicle, except it's not. This is the construction equipment. This is an automated excavator that can be fueled with gravel to assist in construction projects. It's built at the construction yard, but it's not a vehicle you can enter. It is, as it says, a piece of equipment. Once it's built, ship it to the front using a crane and a flatbed, or some other method of transportation like a train, and place it where you want to build some structures. Ideally, if you're building a larger set of structures, like a bunker complex, you'll want to place this as close to the center as possible, so that way its arm can reach around and help construct the most amount of buildings. Once you place a blueprint next to the construction equipment, assuming you have the correct resources loaded in the construction equipment inventory, it will start to automatically build that structure. So in this case, I'm building a trench, so it doesn't actually need any resources placed inside of it, other than the gravel for fuel. Do note that its construction pace is slower than that of an individual soldier. This isn't meant to replace building structures. Instead, it's meant to complement it, or to allow you to do other things while it's building for you in the background. Do note that because of the position of its arm, it can reach out to its rear further than it can forward, but reaching forward would take a lot less turning time than reaching backwards. So it's a bit of a balancing act where the most efficient way to face it is. And so let's see here. I've decided to upgrade this bunker piece, and because there's B-mats in here, it's now started automatically constructing this bunker piece. Builders, may I introduce to you your new best friend. Let's move on to the actual new trench buildings and new bunker buildings. Starting at the bottom, let's talk about new trench pieces. First up, when designing trench and bunker systems, you can now place pieces much closer to each other than you could before, allowing for more varied and complex trench and bunker structures. This also makes finding general spots for trenches and bunkers easier, as they will be less likely to clip with the environment. Second difference is that the sandbag walls are now known as sandbag berms. This is just a visual change, but it makes it a lot more obvious what they're meant for. Additional cover along the top of the trench. They also just kind of look nicer. Another change to bunker and trench systems is that the bunker windows now actually come with a mounting point for tripod-mounted weapons, making them a more valuable upgrade to bunkers. Firing ports now cost one metal beam instead of basic materials. In the past, engineers would fiddle around with trench stairs and create these sort of hard points that made it hard for enemies to get past, using a bunch of glitches and weird angles. But now, the devs have just straight up given us a hard point to build, effectively turning a trench system into a one-way trench system. Maybe this is a planned defensive point for your trench systems, Or maybe you need to fix some new private's trench system that extends too far into enemy lines. Either way, great addition. The last new trench piece is the trench intersection, allowing you to connect to all 4 corners of it. Again, this just makes trench designs and building more flexible in nature. The amount of variety and complexity to trenches is seriously going to increase with this update. Now, moving up to proper bunkers. There's been quite a few changes with them, and we'll start with their integrity. Actually, structural integrity has been renamed to breachable health. Reminder that the difference between what is now breachable health and bunker health is that bunker health is the total hit points that a bunker system has. Breachable health is a multiplier applied on top of that, depending on how the bunker is configured and how large the bunker is. So in line with that, Tier 1 bunkers have had their health reduced and their breachable health increased. Tier 2 bunkers have had their health increased and their breachable health is largely unchanged, though their resistances have been improved. And Tier 3 bunkers have had their health increased and their breachable health reduced. And there's now a breachable health bonus, or an integrity bonus, for making more compact bunkers. And you can see the structural integrity information when the hammer is in upgrade mode. And also, you'll be able to see how different pieces that you're adding onto a bunker or different upgrades will affect the bunker's health and its integrity. So that way there's no guessing game for new players, you just see the information. This upgrade is either going to increase its health and breachable health, or it's not. Now I know the term breachable health sounds really tempting, implying that you can breach into bunkers. And in fact you can, but I will deal with that in a later section. For now, let's focus on the bunker building itself. So let's start with the base upgrades. The provisional, small, and large garrison trees have stayed largely the same. For the garrison structures, now instead of doing it by class, it's by tier. So the first upgrade in the tree will be Tier 1 defensive garrisons, the second will be Tier 2, third will be Tier 3, and the last one is Tier 3 artillery garrisons. So now if you just upgrade the Tier 1 garrison slot, all garrisons, minus the artillery garrisons, will fire on enemies that get close. And the last tree is a lot different. Concrete is no longer required to be upgraded. That way, you can plan out your perfect bunker at Tier 3 all the way from Tier 1. Now it's support bunkers Tiers 1 and 2 for the first upgrade, support bunkers at Tier 3 for the second upgrade, deployment point for the third, and advanced bunkers for things like storm cannons and other super weapons at the last and fourth upgrade for advanced bunkers. Note that the engine room, storage room, bunker hearths, and artillery shelters have been added to the support bunker infrastructure tree. And yes, you heard that correctly. Now, there are Tier 1 garrisons for anti-tank guns, artillery garrisons, and observation bunkers. There's also a new Tier 2 and Tier 3 bunker piece known as the Artillery Shelter Room. This improves resistance against artillery and helps to strengthen adjacent bunkers as well, but it does ultimately cost you some structural or breachable integrity. Another Tier 2 and Tier 3 room is the Fire Suppression Room. This is a bunker section that will automatically spray water in the event of fire, and it includes a pipe connection to the outside. It will require both water and power in order to run, but if you mean to leave your bunker for a while or don't want to rely on people with buckets to put out your fires, this is the room for you. A note for various AI garrisons, they can now be placed next to each other, but this will have an adverse effect on the breachable health bonus of those bunker pieces. Changes have been made to the bunker base power systems. Pipe requirements to connect bunker pieces have been removed. Power can no longer be moved around a bunker network. Instead, power is now shared across a bunker but cannot be moved to other bunkers. Engine rooms have been modified to work like facilities. A production order can be placed to generate reserve power. This reserve power is stored within the engine rooms and then is used to power structures within the engine room's bunker when needed. Each energy room can store 100 reserve power and adds to the total capacity of reserve power for the whole bunker. Engine rooms can also be upgraded to accept facility power line connections to convert MW power into reserve power. Only one power connection line is required for the whole bunker to be connected to a facility power network. And now engine rooms can also be built in 3x3 large structure bases, so storm cannons and other super weapons. More than anything, I'm just happy we don't have to deal with pipes anymore. At least in the trench and bunker piece floors. Speaking of pipes, pipe system fluid mechanics have been reworked and rebalanced. Connected pipelines and liquid silos, which were formerly called fuel silos, will now form one singular pipe system that allows connected structures to interact with its contents. Adding pipelines and liquid silos to a pipe system increases its capacity, which allows structures to continue to operate more consistently than before. Liquid throughput is no longer limited by distances, meaning that liquid at one end will instantly appear at the other end. Some facility structures have been tuned to output the same amount of liquid as before, but in smaller batches to prevent production stalls. And liquid silos and pipeline valves now support insulation, and can freeze during high-intensity snowstorms. There is one thing I forgot to mention about building bunkers, and that's how you build super weapons on bunkers, which I'm going to just start calling superstructures to better differentiate them. Superstructures now require a large structural foundation piece for the building of things like storm cannons, intelligence centers, weather stations, and other superstructures. You build these in the middle of a 3x3 bunker, and now, similar to the ballistic missiles we build, your superstructures like storm cannons will now be built with shippable pieces that are constructed at facilities. The whole point of this change is to both make it less tedious to build superstructures so you don't have to sit there funneling resources into it. Instead, it's more of a prefabrication process where you build them at facilities and then ship them into place, so the actual building portion of it is far more active. This could also make it a little bit more deceptive as to where things like intelligence centers or storm cannons might pop up, as you can pre-build the 3x3 bunkers with large structure foundations, and then wait for the right moment to actually install, say, a storm cannon. And with that said, there's one new superstructure to add to this: the underground fortress. The underground fortress provides a strong point in which troops can spawn into, and items can be stockpiled here, much like the spawn point and stockpile on a large naval ship. Even when enemy artillery destroys all of the exterior bunker pieces and breaches them all, the only way to actually destroy the underground fortress is to send infantry inside to place explosives within the fortress itself. So sharpen your bayonets and melee weapons. It's going to be close quarters. And finally, now that we're done talking about building bunkers up, let's talk about how to breach them down. Bunkers can now have individual sections breached, allowing players to enter inside. Bunkers become breachable when they drop below a certain health threshold. This is the breachable health we've been talking about. The lower a structure's health is, the more susceptible it becomes to breaching. And certain weapons, like Havoc charges or some special breaching munitions, which we'll talk about in a second, can breach bunkers without reaching the breachable health threshold. So these are very specialized weapons. Once a bunker is breached, it can only be rebuilt or filled in once the surrounding connected pieces are all at 100% health. If a large structure, like a storm cannon, is breached, or any piece, the entire 3x3 structure that it's based on is destroyed, and there will now be a husk associated with these structures once they become destroyed. And as a side note, if multiple artillery garrisons, formerly known as howitzer garrisons, are hit by an artillery piece, only one will return fire, but one more will activate each time it is hit in succession. Now, remember when I said certain vehicles and armaments would be used for breaching bunkers? Well, first up, the O'Brien V200 Squire. It's a Warden armored car that has a crew of 2. Though this isn't necessarily for breaching, this carries regular high explosive rockets. You can load up to 10 rockets for a barrage, and its mobility will certainly prove handy. Next up is the redesign of the Warden King Jester Mark I-1. This scout tank model variant carries the new Shatter missiles. It has to be deployed in order to launch missiles. It can launch 4 of them at a time, at a range of between 20 and 40 meters. This thing will need a decent amount of support, but once again, its mobility will probably prove its usefulness, though its accuracy is pretty lacking, especially at its max range. The Colonials have taken a different approach. Instead, there is a modification for the Tisiphone field cannon, in the form of the 35-250 Electo heavy cannon that fires 250mm Fury shells. And I told you, troops, that Siege Camp were fans of Supergiant's game Hades. I knew they were going to do the Furies, now I'm just waiting on the Megara. This is a spigot mortar. It's crewed by 2 people and can load 1 shell at a time, plus 1 in reserve. It can range between 30 and 35 meters, firing a single 250mm shell. While it can't shoot as much as the Jester, it has a much, much higher chance of breaching a bunker. Plus, it's far more accurate, though its maximum range is slightly less. And the crew, being part of a pushgun, are rather vulnerable. That being said, hooking this thing up to a heavy truck means it's far more portable around the battlefield. Side note, the 250mm shell has been renamed the 250mm Purity shell to contrast with the Fury shells. Some other new features include flamethrowers and fire now cause suppression on structures, much in the same way that machine gun ammo will do. But this will only happen once the fire is large enough. It won't be an instant suppression. The backpacks of drowned players now float on the water's surface. A couple of changes have also been made to early war. At the start of a war, bunkers inside of friendly territories will be provided a bonus to bunker tech activity to help the initial defensive lines be constructed. This defensive advantage will happen regardless of population or other factors. You'll always be able to set up faster defensive lines in your territory at the start of a war. The amount of neutral territory at the start of wars will be increased from here on out, since defenses should now be easier to build overall. Take a look at this map from the upcoming war for an idea. Honestly, I think they should go further with this. And some starting supplies and bases have been adjusted. The quantity of mammons has been reduced from 100 down to 25. The basic material quantity has increased from 2,000 to 3,000. They've added 100 shovels and 300 sandbags and barbed wire pieces. 30 construction vehicles and cranes have been added to logistics town stockpiles, while 10 have been added to non-logistics town stockpiles. Shipyards are now assigned to the faction of the subregion they are in. They are now neutral if the subregion is neutral, rather than being assigned to the closest owned base. Regiments now have a members list of up to 2,000. Friendly fire no longer contributes to AI suppression. Tier 3 garrison houses, town bases, relic bases, and anti-tank pillboxes now shoot 30mm rounds at vehicles. Garrison houses, seaports, town bases, and relic bases no longer have damage fall-off at range. The Type C Charon and Ronin gunships are no longer restricted from repairing with hammers at sea. They've added the ability to assemble loadouts from the field hospital, and BMS blood tender, so there's now slots for the hammer, the pistols, along with a submit starter kit button. Because, you know, keeping weapons in a designated medical area is definitely not against the rules of war at all. Thanks, devs. And they've added a coal to gravel recipe in concrete mixers. Some minor map changes are that in Silicon Shelf, Thornhold Relic Base has been moved 100 meters south, and a new town has been added, the Pale House, at Searing Blind Crossroads. In Terminus, the shipyards east of Thorizo Seaport have been removed to allow for the proper passage of trains. Facility map posts now expire a bit more slowly. They've updated the chat settings help tooltip to mention that replying to private messages can be done with backspace when the chat is unfocused. Neat, I didn't actually know that. Callout markers are now hidden when the UI is toggled off, which is actually great for cinematic purposes. And this is a note for all you would-be memers out there. World structure husks can no longer be destroyed. So the devs claim. One other category of changes, they've improved the hit registration. There's some new algorithms for hit scan weapons such as rifles and SMGs. The servers now account for latency of the shooting player when attempting to hit a target. Server-side hit tests now show a better match what the shooting player saw when they took their shot, reducing the need for players to lead their shots based on latency. And they've increased the maximum interpolation threshold to avoid jittery movement when servers are under heavy load. Some balance changes include all Tier 2 bunkers have had their resistance to explosive, and high explosive incendiary damage increase from 25 to 35%. Tier 1 structure kinetic damage resistance has increased from 80 to 95%. The O'Brien Freeman and O'Brien Knave have had their engine power increase slightly to allow them to climb the steepest inclines that all other vehicles can climb. For 250mm, they've added a modifier to increase the chance that a bunker becomes breached, and the damage has been reduced from 1,000 down to 800. For 300mm shells, they've added a modifier to increase the chance that a bunker becomes breached that is rolled regardless of its breachable health. Damage has increased from 1,500 to 3,000. can now cause large leaks for large naval ships. The cost has increased from 30 high explosive powder and 4 construction material to 2 unstable substance and 10 assembly material 4. And the tech has been moved to facilities tier 2. The ballistic rocket platform and intel center range has been increased from 2,000 to 2,500 meters. For the Tempest cannon, rare alloys cost has increased from 6 to 100, and they added thermal shielding cost of 45. For rocket artillery, the Riker Wasp Nest has had its minimum range increased to 350 and max to 450. The Niska Riker Skycaller has had its minimum range increased to 275 and its max to 350. The T-13 Dionys rocket battery has had its minimum range increased from 350 to 400 meters. The R-17 Skirmisher has had its minimum range increased to 375 and max range increased to 500. The Hades Net has had its minimum range increased to 300 and max to 575. The 3C high explosive rockets have had their damage increased from 350 to 700, and they no longer cause fire. Ah yes, the shotguns. For the Dragonfly, its max range has been decreased from 20 down to 17 meters. Max reachability is down from 30 to 25. Its stability gain rate reduced by 28%. Its firing time reduced from 1.5 to 1.2. Its magazine size has been reduced from 6 down to 5, and its weight has increased by 75%. Crate costs increased from 110 to 130 basic materials. Its quantity has been reduced from 20 to 15 per crate, and its crate production time has increased from 100 to 150 seconds. For the Pillory Scattergun, its max range has been reduced from 10 down to 7 meters. Its high velocity damage has been reduced. Its crate size has been reduced from 20 down to 15. And its crate production time has increased from 60 to 100 seconds. The Trident and Naki submarines. Their leak repair costs has increased from 85 to 100 basic materials. Chance to gain a leak when hit has been increased. Cost increase from 12 naval hull segments and 12 naval shield plating segments to 15 naval hull segments and 15 naval shell platings, respectively. The Conqueror and Black Steel cost has decreased from 15 naval hull segments and 15 naval shell platings to 12 and 12 each. The Hydra's Whisper detonation decreased from 5 to 3. Overall damage output is unchanged. The Nemesis wheel skirts can now also be hit to disable the track subsistence. The BMS Bowhead assembly time for items, vehicles, and structures has been improved. The Auger stability loss from moving has also been reduced, so for you Colonial snipers out there, get those rapid fire shots in motion. The Lunaire F crate refined material cost has been reduced from 30 down to 15. Quantity per crate has been reduced from 10 down to 5. The Gallagher Thornfall process construction material cost has increased from 45 to 60. The Fissura can now hold either 16 of the following grenades: tremolas, smoke grenades, or green ash grenades. The unstable substance and rocket manufactory have been moved to facilities at Tier 2 tech, although the rockets themselves will have separate tech entirely. And the Charon's gunboat speed has been increased by 7%. Okay, that was a very technical update, and that should do it for all of the notes that I have on hand. I want to note a few things at the end of this update video. Number one, a thank you to Liquid Popsicle for helping me parse a few of the numbers out. Number two, as always, if there is anything that has been left out of this update video, please feel free to leave it in a comment below, and I will add it to a pinned comment to make sure that information is still available. And number three, I just want to say a thank you to everyone who checks out all of my videos. You will not have known this until you watch this video, but my place doesn't have power, so I had to drag my PC out back to my parents' place for the evening to get this video edited, and I will probably not be sleeping until past midnight tonight. So thank you for your guys' support over the years. It means a lot. If you like what you saw in this video, please like, share, and subscribe with all of the builders you know out there. They definitely want to be hearing this one. And as always, good luck, keep your heads down, and stay in your foxholes. Bear out. We did it, Patrick. We saved the city.